High-level talks have just collapsed. Diplomats on both sides have left the table without reaching any form of compromise.
Military forces are moving into heightened alert. Strategic bombers have taken off from key bases as neither side seems willing to back down.
New satellite images confirm nuclear forces on both sides are now being readied. Global tensions are at a critical peak.
This is a national emergency. All residents are urged to seek immediate shelter in the lowest, most central room of a sturdy building. Remain indoors. Close and secure all.
Yeah, man, I gotta say, it don't look too good. Cod ain't as plentiful as last week, and now the weather's turning sour.
Aye, looks like a storm brewing. Better haul in fast. Don't want to get caught out.
What the hell is that?
On November 10th, 2015, Russian TV channel NTV accidentally aired a glimpse of a secret document about something called Status 6. The CIA thought this was no slip-up. That mysterious system turned out to be the Poseidon, a nuclear-powered, nuclear-armed autonomous torpedo. This massive torpedo stretches between 65 to 80 feet long and can dive to depths of around 3,300 feet. At those depths, detecting or intercepting it is extremely difficult. Powered by a mini nuclear reactor, the Poseidon has virtually unlimited range. It can cruise the oceans for months without needing to surface. The Pentagon estimates it has a top speed of about 64 miles per hour. If you were on a ship and saw it swim by at full speed, it would look something like this. As for its payload, Poseidon is believed to carry a nuclear warhead with a yield of up to 2 megatons. That's over 133 times more powerful than the little boy atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, which was about 15 kilotons. Some Russian sources claim it can carry a 100 megaton warhead, but they always tend to exaggerate their capabilities, so take that with a grain of salt. Not that it's impossible. Since the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated, the Tsar bomber had a yield of about 50 megatons, which is considerably smaller in size than Poseidon. Modified Oscar-class submarines, like the Belgorod, are reported to carry up to 6 Poseidon torpedoes. Now imagine a nuclear-armed Poseidon heading toward a US coastal city. The US Navy would rely heavily on fixed and mobile sonar arrays to detect it as early as possible, deploying submarines, surface ships, and aircraft to intercept it. Interestingly, the US Navy has its own Poseidon, but it's not a torpedo, it's a maritime patrol aircraft called the Boeing P-8A Poseidon. Equipped for anti-submarine warfare, it uses advanced sensors like sonobuoys and radar systems to detect underwater threats and can deploy Mark 54 lightweight torpedoes against submarines.
Torpedo away. Parachute deployed successfully.
Roger, copy that.
Arleigh Burke-class destroyers also carry Mark 54 torpedoes, launched from their Mark 32 triple torpedo tubes. The Navy's primary helicopter, the MH-60R Seahawk, can carry them too. But the main line of defense might be the Virginia-class submarines, the newest nuclear-powered fast attack subs in the US fleet. They're about 377 feet long and can operate at depths exceeding 800 feet.
Cyber 1, status check. We see you near the torpedo. Over.
Copy. I'm 2 meters out from the Mark 48. Everything is stable. No visible leaks. Over.
Armed with Mark 48 heavyweight torpedoes, designed for high-speed and deep-water engagements, they're well suited to take on something like Poseidon. Working together, these platforms could intercept a Poseidon torpedo if it's detected early enough and potentially destroy it. But here's the catch. Poseidon's autonomous nature means it operates without direct human control, using artificial intelligence to dodge obstacles and avoid detection. One of its stealth features is a specially designed pump that jets water in a way that mimics civilian ships. And the Poseidon's main stealth feature isn't about its high speed, but rather its ability to move super slowly before reaching its target area. This means it could be launched and then creep toward enemy ports over weeks or even months, only hitting high speed in the final stage.
Можем ли мы использовать это видео как пропаганду нашего прекрасного Посейдона?
In 2022, Russian domestic TV propaganda said Poseidon will be able to plunge Britain into the depths of the sea and could also target American port cities by initiating a 500 meters high radioactive tsunami.
Я не думаю, что мы сможем использовать это в качестве пропаганды, ведь это из фильма, который они сняли на Западе.
But many experts have brushed off these claims, pointing out the differences between waves formed from a man-made weapon and natural tsunamis. Big tsunamis usually travel in one direction, while an underwater explosion sends waves out in all directions, causing the energy to fade faster. For example, the energy released by the 2011 Japan tsunami was about 163,000 times greater than the Tsar bomber, the highest estimate of Poseidon's possible power. As for how many Poseidon torpedoes are out there, the Pentagon reported that Russia conducted its first successful test launch in 2016 in the Arctic Ocean. By early 2023, it was said that the first batch of these weapons had been produced. The Russian Navy has announced plans to acquire at least 30 Poseidon torpedoes to be deployed on 4 submarines, 2 assigned to the Northern Fleet and 2 to the Pacific Fleet. The most powerful nuclear weapon currently in the US arsenal is the B-83 thermonuclear bomb. It's about 12 feet long and 18 inches in diameter. Unlike missiles, it doesn't have any propulsion system. It's a gravity bomb, meaning it relies on the aircraft's speed and altitude, plus gravity to reach its target. While the B-83 can technically be carried by aircraft like the F-16 Fighting Falcon and the F-15E Strike Eagle, in practice, it's primarily deployed by the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. The B-2 is specifically designed for strategic nuclear missions and is currently the only aircraft that carries heavy nuclear bombs like the B-83. The B-2 has a top speed of around 630 miles per hour. Imagine standing at the Grand Canyon and watching a B-2 stealth bomber fly by at low altitude and top speed. Now let's compare that to the Poseidon torpedo we discussed earlier. The B-2 is roughly 10 times faster than Poseidon at its top speed. This is how fast the B-83 can be delivered.
12 miles. 211 power radar contact approaching 5 miles. Roger.
A single B-2 bomber can carry up to 16 B-83 nuclear bombs. the United States has a fleet of 19 B-2 stealth bombers. That means in a full-scale nuclear war, up to 304 B-83 bombs could be airborne. But let's focus on just one B-2 bomber carrying a single B-83 headed towards Moscow. To counter this threat, Russia would rely on over-the-horizon radar systems like the container radar, which can detect incoming aircraft at long ranges, including stealth targets, by monitoring disturbances in the ionosphere. They would also use the NEBO-M radar system, a mobile multiband radar complex designed to spot low observable targets by operating across multiple frequency bands, including VHF, L, and X bands. The NEBO-M can share its data with anti-aircraft missile systems like the S-400. This system can simultaneously engage up to 36 targets, including aircraft, drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles. While the S-400 is considered one of the most advanced air defense systems, its real-world performance has faced criticism. Reports suggest that Ukrainian forces have successfully targeted and destroyed S-400 systems in areas like Crimea, raising questions about its effectiveness. Then there's the S-500, known as Prometheus, which is set to eventually replace the S-400. It can target threats at altitudes up to 124 miles, enabling it to intercept even ballistic missiles in their terminal phase. With these defense systems, Russia would aim to spot the B-2 stealth bomber and try to shoot it down. But here's where the B-2 really shines. Its unique flying wing design and radar-absorbent materials can drastically reduce its radar cross-section, making it much harder for radar systems to detect. The engines can minimize heat emissions, cutting down its infrared signature, so it's tougher to spot with infrared sensors. Plus, the B-2 is packed with advanced electronic warfare gear to jam or deceive enemy radar and communications. It can also fly low, using the terrain to stay concealed and avoid detection.
402's radar contact at 18 miles. Take speed 250, final bearing is 230.
Once it reaches the drop point over Moscow, the B-2 lines up for the bomb run.
07 approaching 4 miles, slightly left and correct. 11 final approach speed now. 211.
The optimal detonation altitude for the B-83 bomb is around 11,000 feet. When it detonates as an airburst, the fireball would incinerate everything within a 0.7-mile radius. The area where buildings would collapse extends to about 4.6 miles. The zone of thermal radiation, where people could suffer third-degree burns, stretches out to 8.2 miles. Estimated immediate fatalities could reach over 1.3 million people, with another 3.7 million injured. Currently, the United States has about 650 B-83 nuclear bombs. The exact number in active service is unknown, but experts estimate around 200 are active. You might wonder why there are so many of these powerful weapons. The reason is that during the Cold War, they were meant to ensure a strong and flexible nuclear deterrent. Interestingly, the B-83 has also been considered for asteroid deflection. NASA analyzed the feasibility of using nuclear explosive devices to alter the trajectory of potentially dangerous asteroids. The idea was to have a spacecraft equipped with 6 B-83 warheads, each set to their maximum yield of 1.2 megatons.
Station Zarya, report. Have the 6 B-83s detonated? Yes, Command. All charges went off above the asteroid's surface. Trajectory? It's shifting, Command. Just enough to clear Earth.
These would be detonated at a calculated distance above the asteroid's surface to nudge it off course without breaking it apart, steering it away from Earth. Another key player in the US nuclear arsenal is the AGM-86B air-launched cruise missile. While its yield ranges from 5 kilotons and up to 150 kilotons, considerably less than the B-83, it's still about 10 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. Measuring 20 feet 9 inches long and 24.5 inches wide, each missile comes with a price tag of about $1 million. These missiles are carried exclusively by the B-52H Stratofortress, an iconic bomber with a top speed of 650 miles per hour and can fly up to 8,800 miles without needing to refuel. Each B-52 can load up to 20 of these cruise missiles. The AGM-86B flies at approximately 550 miles per hour and can strike targets up to 1,500 miles away. If you were at the Grand Canyon and you spot one of these missiles cruising by at top speed, this is what it would look like. Thanks to its Williams turbofan engine, it operates efficiently at subsonic speeds and leaves minimal exhaust, which are key factors in stealth technology.
Contact you inbound upon Brandon 230. 107, your interval is electric A6 here, but you're between 12 and 1 o'clock position, 2 miles.
Final EAM confirmed. ALCM armed. Initiating release now. Over.
Copy that.
If one of these 150 kiloton warheads was detonated over Moscow, the fireball would span about 544 yards. The initial burst of gamma rays and neutrons would impact an area within 0.6 miles. Thermal radiation would be severe enough to cause third-degree burns with a radius of 3.2 miles. Immediate fatalities could be over 335,000 people, with an additional 1.4 million injured. As of now, the US Air Force has about 536 of these missiles in its arsenal. They are stationed at Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota and Barksdale AFB in Louisiana. Russia's equivalent cruise missile would be the KH-102, known by NATO as the AS-23 Kodiak. Measuring about 24 feet 5 inches in length and 20 inches in diameter, each missile is estimated to cost over $13 million. It's deployed by aircraft like the Tupolev Tu-160 and Tupolev Tu-95 bombers. While it shares a similar subsonic speed with the US AGM-86B, around 600 miles per hour, the big difference lies in its payload. The KH-102 carries a nuclear warhead ranging from 250 kilotons up to 1 megaton, which is up to 66 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, and it has an impressive range of up to 3,400 miles.
Цель – Нью-Йорк. Координаты подтверждены. Пуск КХ-102 пошел.
Sunset goes this evening, sunset at 7:30 and 8 weeks closer to 8:30 in the evening. So
If a KH-102 were to strike a major US city like New York, the impact would be catastrophic. The fireball would engulf an area with a radius of 0.7 miles, vaporizing everything instantly. The moderate blast damage zone, where most buildings would collapse, would extend out to about 4.4 miles. Thermal radiation causing severe burns could reach as far as 7.6 miles from ground zero. Estimated fatalities could exceed 2 million, with an additional 3 million injured. The exact number of KH-102 missiles in Russia's arsenal is unknown. Now when it comes to speed, the Kinjal missile, or dagger, shows the true capabilities of hypersonic technology. NATO refers to it as Killjoy. This missile is about 23 feet 7 inches long and 47 inches in diameter, costing approximately $10 million per unit. It's launched from aircraft like the Tupolev Tu-22M, Sukhoi Su-34, and primarily the Mikoyan MiG-31. The Kinjal carries a conventional or nuclear warhead with a yield of up to 50 kilotons, over 3 times the power of the Hiroshima bomb and about twice that of the Fat Man bomb dropped on Nagasaki. What sets the Kinjal apart is its hypersonic speed, reaching up to Mach 10 or about 7,700 miles per hour. That's roughly 13 times faster than the KH-102 or the US AGM-86B. At this speed, about 11,200 feet per second if it flew over New York City, it would cover 20 miles in just 9.4 seconds. Blink, and you'd miss it. Traveling at hypersonic velocities, it generates powerful shockwaves, resulting in a loud sonic boom as it compresses and rapidly releases air molecules. Even with the mind-blowing speed of Mach 10, Ukraine has managed to intercept Russian Kinjal hypersonic missiles, carrying conventional payloads, using the US-supplied Patriot air defense system. The first confirmed interception happened on May 4, 2023, over Kyiv. The Patriot system is a mobile surface-to-air missile setup designed to detect, track and take down various aerial threats, including tactical ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and advanced aircraft. It features a phased array radar that handles surveillance, target detection, and tracking. The launchers come with canisters that house the interceptor missiles, and each launcher can hold up to 4 PAC-2 missiles or 16 PAC-3 missiles. PAC-2 missiles use a blast fragmentation warhead to destroy targets by detonating near them. While PAC-3 missiles take a different approach by directly colliding with incoming threats, offering higher lethality through a hit-to-kill mechanism. However, it's important to note that the Patriot system was initially built to counter aircraft and tactical ballistic missiles, not specifically hypersonic missiles like the Russian Dagger.
Цель подтверждена. Нью-Йорк. Кинжал с ядерным зарядом готов. Выполняю приказ. Пуск.
If a single Kinjal missile were to breach US airspace and detonate as an airburst over a city like New York, even with a 50 kiloton yield, the consequences would be devastating. The fireball would cover a 0.2-mile radius, instantly vaporizing everything in its path. The moderate blast damage zone, where most buildings would crumble, would stretch out to about 1.6 miles. Thermal radiation strong enough to cause severe burns would reach up to 2 miles from ground zero. Estimated immediate fatalities could surpass 500,000 people, with an additional 1 million injured. The exact number of Kinzhal missiles in Russia's arsenal is unknown. However, Ukrainian intelligence estimated that Russia produced at least 4 Kinzhal missiles in the month of October 2023. One of the fastest and most high-tech nuclear weapons in the world is the Trident II submarine-launched ballistic missile. This missile is a key part of the sea-based nuclear deterrent for both the United States and the United Kingdom. The Trident II measures over 44 feet in length and more than 6 feet in diameter, with each missile costing around $31 million. It can carry multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, or MIRVs, with the top tier being the W-88 nuclear warhead. Each Trident II can hold up to 8 re-entry vehicles, each loaded with a 475 kiloton warhead. That's equivalent to the explosive power of almost 32 Hiroshima bombs in each warhead, or about 253 Hiroshima bombs in a single missile. Under the New START Treaty signed in 2010, the US is required to maintain a total of 1,550 active nuclear warheads spread across its nuclear triad. Currently, the US equips each Trident II with 4 to 5 warheads to adhere to this limit. These missiles are deployed on the Ohio-class nuclear submarines. As the largest submarines ever built for the US Navy, they stretch 560 feet long and are powered by a single S-8G pressurized nuclear water reactor, giving them virtually unlimited range. They also come with desalination systems that turn seawater into drinking water for the crew, so their range is really only limited by how much food they can carry. The US operates a fleet of 14 Ohio-class submarines armed with Trident II missiles. 8 of these are part of the Pacific Fleet based at Naval Base Kitsap in Bangor, Washington, and the other 6 are with the Atlantic Fleet stationed at Naval Submarine Base Kings Bay in Georgia. Each Ohio-class submarine has 24 missile tubes. But to comply with the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty between the US and Russia, the US has reduced the number of operational missile tubes on each submarine to 20. With about 5 of these submarines always on patrol, that means that as of right now, there are at least 100 Trident II missiles hiding in the world's oceans. The Trident II missile has a range of over 7,500 miles, meaning it could be launched from as far away as Hawaii and still strike Moscow, landing within 100 meters of its target. Russia uses the EKS space satellite system, along with early warning radars like Voronezh, to get advance notice of a nuclear attack. To stay under the radar, Ohio-class submarines launch their Trident II missiles while submerged under the sea. An explosive charge generates high-pressure gas, forcing water into the missile tube and creating steam. This pressure pushes the missile out of the tube, sending it toward the ocean surface. Once the Trident II reaches the surface and becomes airborne, the missile's first-stage solid rocket motor ignites, shooting it upward. Immediately after the first stage detaches, the second stage motor ignites. The second stage lasts for roughly 60 seconds, taking the missile up to 93 miles in altitude and continuing its acceleration towards the edge of space. For navigation, the Trident II uses an astro-inertial guidance system. This technology relies on the positions of stars to correct any drift from its inertial path, ensuring the missile stays on target without needing external signals. The third stage then fires, giving the missile that final push to reach its desired speed and altitude. This stage lasts about 40 seconds, propelling the missile up to 186 miles high.
Confirming Trident II is now in the exosphere. We're transitioning to post-boost phase in T-minus 10 seconds.
Once this boost phase ends, the post-boost phase begins. The missile's nose separates, exposing the re-entry vehicles, and the system now known as the bus takes over to carry the RVs. During the post-boost phase, which lasts around 3 minutes for intercontinental targets, the bus continues to ascend to altitudes exceeding 750 miles above Earth's surface. At this point, the bus uses its own propulsion and small thrusters to maneuver, but doesn't add much more speed. Once the bus has the RVs lined up for their targets, in this case Moscow, it starts releasing them one by one.
Re-entry vehicles have been successfully released. Trajectories look solid, and we're tracking clean separation across all warheads. Mission parameters are green. No anomalies detected.
To keep their paths stable, the RVs spin to maintain their trajectory. They use tiny gas thrusters to start and control this spin, but since there's no air in space and due to conservation of angular momentum, they won't need to keep using the thrusters after the initial setup. These RVs then travel thousands of miles through space on a ballistic trajectory. This is the mid-course phase, which lasts the longest, about 20 minutes. The RVs are cone-shaped to protect the nuclear warheads inside from the intense heat during re-entry. Inside each warhead, the core, known as the pit, contains fissile material like plutonium-239 or highly enriched uranium. In thermonuclear bombs, there's also a secondary stage with fusion fuel, such as lithium deuteride. The energy from the primary stage compresses and ignites this secondary stage, causing a massive explosion. The final phase is the terminal phase, occurring when the RV enters the atmosphere at around 60 miles altitude. As the RV starts its re-entry, it zips through the atmosphere at Mach 24, about 18,000 miles per hour. This incredible speed subjects it to huge aerodynamic forces. The air in front of the RV's nose cone gets compressed so quickly that temperatures reach several thousand degrees Celsius. This extreme heat ionizes the surrounding air, forming a plasma sheath around the re-entry vehicle. On the ground, things get even more intense. Besides the S-500 Prometheus, which is a mobile air and missile defense system capable of shooting down ballistic missiles at up to 124 miles altitude and can handle up to 10 hypersonic targets at the same time, Moscow also relies on its older A-135 defense system. This system dates back to the Soviet days and was built to shield Moscow from incoming ballistic missiles. A key part of the A-135 system is the Don-2N radar, a giant phased array radar that covers 360 degrees. The system used to include the 51T6A-BM-4 Gorgon, built for long-range interceptions in space before the warheads come back down. But that part was shut down in 2007. Still active is the 53T6ABM-3 Gazelle interceptor. These are short-range, high-speed missiles designed to take out warheads within the atmosphere during their terminal phase. Originally, these interceptors were loaded with nuclear warheads, each carrying about 10 kilotons, meant to explode near the incoming missile and knock it out with the blast and radiation. But recent reports show that these interceptors now are not loaded with their nuclear warheads. Instead, the warheads are kept separately at places like Borovsk 1, around 50 miles southwest of Moscow. Looking ahead, Russia plans to upgrade the A-135 system to a newer version called the A-235 Samolet-M, or Nudol system. The A-135 system launches missiles exclusively from silo-based launch containers. These silos are strategically placed around Moscow, creating a protective shield against missile attacks. When combined with the S-500 Prometheus, Russia has a strong defensive line against ballistic missiles. But the Trident II isn't just about warheads. It can also deploy decoys to confuse and bypass missile defenses. This means that even with advanced systems like Prometheus, it's possible that one or two warheads from a single Trident II missile could still hit their target. If that happens, the consequences for Moscow would be devastating. Each W-88 warhead has 475 kilotons of explosive power. If two of these hit Moscow, it's like dropping over 63 Hiroshima bombs all at once. Since the warheads are targeting one city, to prevent something called nuclear fratricide, where one warhead's explosion could destroy the other, the distance between their detonation points is increased, so they minimize overlap and maximize overall destruction. The result would be an estimated 1.5 million immediate fatalities and millions more injured from just one Trident II missile, assuming only 2 out of its potential 8 warheads hit the target. With the US Navy having 14 Ohio-class submarines, each carrying 20 Trident II missiles, this means the US can have 280 Trident II missiles underneath the world's oceans. But as we mentioned, these subs have 24 launch tubes. Outside the START treaty, they could carry up to 336 missiles ready to launch. As for the total number of Trident II missiles, the Navy's initial goal was 425. They've reportedly added over 100 more in recent years for testing and upgrades. While the exact number is classified, it's reasonable to estimate the US has about 500 Trident II missiles in active stockpile, including those deployed, reserved, and used for testing. Russia's counterpart to the Trident II is the RSM-56 Bulava missile. Measuring around 40 feet long and over 6 feet in diameter, each one costs just over $32 million. The Bulava can carry between 6 and 10 MIRVs, each warhead delivering 100 to 150 kilotons of explosive power. Just one 150 kiloton warhead is 10 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. So, with up to 10 warheads, a single Bulava could unleash the equivalent of 100 Hiroshima bombs. These missiles are deployed on Borei-class submarines. They're Russia's latest nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines from Project 955A. At about 560 feet long, these submarines can stay submerged almost indefinitely, limited only by their food supplies. They too have advanced life support systems that desalinate seawater, providing a steady supply of drinking water for the crew on extended missions. Russia has 7 active Borei-class submarines. 2 are part of the Northern Fleet in the Arctic, based at Gadjievo Naval Base on the Kola Peninsula. The other 5 operate out of Vilyuchinsk Naval Base on the Kamchatka Peninsula. An 8th sub is expected to be operational soon. Each submarine can carry 16 Bulava missiles. Some estimates suggest that at any moment, 2 to 4 of these subs are on strategic deterrent patrols. That means up to 64 Bulava missiles could be hidden beneath the oceans right now. The Bulava has a maximum range of about 5,800 miles, meaning it could reach a city like New York even if launched from port in Vilyuchinsk. Before a Bulava is launched, the submarine floods the launch tube with seawater to equalize pressure. A gas generator at the base then ignites, producing high-pressure gas that propels the missile upward. This cold launch method ejects the missile without igniting its main engines. Once it surfaces, the missile's systems recognize the change from water to air. The first stage solid rocket motor then ignites, kicking off the boost phase. The US uses the space-based infrared system as an early warning setup, working with ground-based radars like the ANTPY-2 and sea-based X-band radars. The space-based infrared system can detect the heat signatures of a Bulava missile launch almost instantly. Like the Trident II, Russia's Bulava missile is a three-stage booster rocket. During its initial ascent, it can pull off complex maneuvers to make tracking and targeting by missile defense systems a real headache. After blasting through its first, second, and third boost phases, and reaching up to about 750 miles above Earth's surface, the post-boost phase kicks in. This is when the bus, the part that carries the re-entry vehicles, is exposed in space. Once the bus lines up the warheads toward New York City, it releases them on their ballistic path. In the mid-course phase, these warheads can tweak their trajectories, dodging interceptors, making them even tougher to predict and shoot down. NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, a joint military organization between the US and Canada, plays a key role in missile defense by providing early detection and tracking of ballistic missile threats. While the ground-based mid-course defense, or GMD system, is the United States' main shield against long-range ballistic missiles. It's designed to spot, intercept, and destroy incoming warheads during their mid-course and terminal phases in space. The GMD system uses ground-based interceptors, or GBIs, located at two key sites: Fort Greely in Alaska, which hosts 40 GBIs, and Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, with 4 GBIs. Each GBI carries an exo-atmospheric kill vehicle. The EKV weighs just 140 pounds, is 55 inches long, and 24 inches in diameter. After launch and separation from the booster in space, it uses its own sensors and propulsion to get close on the incoming warhead, destroying it through sheer kinetic energy. The US also uses the Aegis ballistic missile defense system. This sea-based system employs advanced radar and interceptor missiles to tackle short to intermediate range ballistic missiles during their mid-course and terminal phases. When a missile is detected, the Aegis system fires Standard Missile-3 interceptors from Ticonderoga-class cruisers or Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, aiming to collide with the warhead in space and neutralize it. The US would also bring in the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System, or THAAD. While it's not specifically designed to intercept ICBMs, THAAD is built to take down short to medium-range ballistic missiles during their terminal phase. It's a mobile, ground-based setup with interceptors that can engage targets both inside and just outside the atmosphere. But even with these defense systems in place, it's possible that at least 3 out of the 10 Bulava warheads could hit their targets. Each warhead can strike a different location, which makes defense efforts even more complicated due to this multiple warhead capability. If 3 of these 150 kiloton warheads were to hit New York in different areas, the destruction would be massive. At least 2 million people dead and 4 million more injured. The Bulava warheads can reach speeds up to Mach 20, or about 15,300 miles per hour. In comparison, Trident II warheads can hit speeds of Mach 24, roughly 18,000 miles per hour. These speeds are mind-boggling and almost beyond human comprehension. The last component of the US nuclear triad are ground-based ICBMs launched from missile silos. The Minuteman III missiles, standing 60 feet tall with a diameter of 5 feet 6 inches, each one costs about $7 million.
Confirming, all major nuclear weapons are on display.
Roger, copy that.
The Minuteman III was the first US ICBM to feature MIRV technology, allowing one missile to carry multiple warheads capable of hitting different targets. However, under the New START Treaty, which limits the US to 1,550 active nuclear warheads, Strategic Command has decided to equip each Minuteman III ICBM with only one warhead, typically the 300-kiloton W-87, equivalent to 20 Hiroshima bombs. The current ICBM force includes 400 Minuteman III missiles stationed at 3 main US Air Force bases: F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming, Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota, and Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana. These missile fields extend beyond their home states, also covering parts of Nebraska and Colorado. You might be wondering why the US openly shares where its missile silos are located. Well, choosing to arm each Minuteman III missile with just one warhead is actually a brilliant move. You see, to eliminate the Minuteman III warheads, an enemy would need to use at least 3 nuclear warheads for every missile silo. Considering the US has 400 Minuteman IIIs and 50 extra decoy silos, any nation attempting a sneak attack would have to expend around 1,350 nuclear warheads just to take out the US ground-based nuclear forces. That's a huge cost for them. You might ask, but couldn't an enemy just take out the command centers to disable the missiles? Well, that's where the Airborne Command Post role comes in, which was originally known as the Looking Glass program. Today, this mission is carried out by the US Navy's E-6B Mercury aircraft, an airborne command post that ensures the Minuteman III missiles can be launched, even if ground-based command and control centers are decapitated by a nuclear attack.
3, 2, 1, mark.
With the Airborne Launch Control System, or ALCS, on board, the crew on the Mercury aircraft can remotely launch the Minuteman III missiles if the presidential order is given, keeping the ground-based deterrent effective, even though the Minuteman III's location is public knowledge. So by deploying Minuteman III ICBMs with a single warhead, the US minimizes the risk of a use them or lose them situation and enhances strategic stability. Even though they're not the newest, the Minuteman III missiles have nearly 100% reliability in tests and are among the fastest nuclear missiles around, reaching speeds up to Mach 23, or about 17,500 miles per hour. But imagining them flying parallel to the ground isn't practical. They can't handle the dense atmosphere at those speeds. It would be like slamming into a wall. And the resulting shockwaves? You'd need to be miles away to be safe. But let's imagine an environment without an atmosphere to really grasp the speed of these missiles. The Moon. On the Moon, there's no air, so a missile flying parallel to the ground wouldn't face any atmospheric resistance. There wouldn't be a smoke trail, just an elongated cone-shaped exhaust plume spreading out because there's no pressure to contain it. An astronaut standing half a mile away would be fine, since there are no shockwaves without air. However, the astronaut would still need to keep a safe distance because the missile's exhaust particles are moving at about 5 miles per second. If the missile zipped by, it would look like this. Astronaut suits are built to withstand radiation and micrometeorites traveling at extreme speeds. So, making this hypothetical even more extreme, and assuming the astronaut is safe even at a very close distance to the missile flyby, at such an insane speed, it would look something like this. But could the human eye even catch it? At 17,500 miles per hour, the missile would pass by in just 12.4 microseconds. So, you'd see a quick blur. And to capture a still image, you'd need a camera capable of at least 83,000 frames per second. Some cameras can even capture over 1 million frames per second at reduced resolutions, used in scientific research and ballistics testing. But remember, these missiles are built for one purpose: destruction. Minuteman III is a 3-stage solid-fueled rocket with a range of up to 8,700 miles. That means it can reach almost anywhere on Earth except parts of Antarctica, Western Australia, and some southern African countries. We've seen what higher-yield nuclear weapons could do to a city like Moscow, but even a single 300-kiloton warhead would cause substantial devastation, equivalent to 20 Hiroshima bombs. The fireball radius would be about 0.4 miles, and residential buildings would collapse within a 2.9-mile radius. Thermal radiation would affect areas up to 4.5 miles away. Estimated fatalities could exceed 500,000, with another 2 million injured. This is the power of Minuteman III. Russia's most fearsome nuclear weapon is the RS-28 Sarmat missile, nicknamed the Satan II. This super-heavy ICBM towers at nearly 116 feet, with a diameter close to 10 feet. It can be equipped with 16 lighter warheads or 10 heavier ones. Each of the 10 heavy warheads with a yield of up to 745 kilotons. That's about 50 times the power of the Hiroshima bomb for each warhead, totaling 500 Hiroshima bombs. Some Russian reports suggest the Sarmat could even carry a single 50-megaton warhead. Given that its predecessor, the R-36M, could deliver up to 25-megaton warheads, this isn't entirely implausible. But there's another secret payload the Sarmat can carry. This missile is silo-launched and moved using massive transporter-erector vehicles designed to carry it horizontally and then set it upright for silo installation. Following its entry into service, Russia intended to deploy about 50 Sarmat ICBMs to replace older missiles. Based on production and deployment schedules, estimates suggest Russia has between 10 to 20 operational Sarmat missiles at present. But despite being in service, Sarmat has encountered many problems, including multiple failed tests, with the most recent failure occurring in September 2024. Nonetheless, its potential should not be underestimated.
Sarmat-28 успешно вышел на вторую ступень. Все системы работают штатно. Наблюдение ведется непрерывно.
The Sarmat is a 3-stage liquid-fueled rocket with a boost phase lasting approximately 3 to 5 minutes. After reaching the edge of space, it unveils its payload, the avant-garde Hypersonic glide vehicle. Avant-garde can carry nuclear or conventional warheads. It weighs around 4,400 pounds and measures 17.7 feet long. While its exact payload capacity remains unknown, what is clear is its incredible speed. Upon re-entry during its terminal phase, the avant-garde maneuvers at hypersonic velocities, using its aerodynamic design and control surfaces to generate lift and perform evasive maneuvers, altering its path and altitude to evade missile defenses. It can achieve speeds up to Mach 27, that's roughly 20,700 miles per hour or 5.75 miles per second. If it was gliding over New York City, it would cover 20 miles in just 3.5 seconds. And it would look something like this. Don't blink. If the Sarmat was loaded with a single 50-megaton warhead and detonated over New York City, it would virtually erase the city from the map. Within microseconds, the energy released would create superheated plasma, a glowing fireball made of vaporized materials from the bomb and everything around it. This fireball would heat up rapidly, reaching temperatures of several million degrees Celsius, more than the core of the sun. These extreme temperatures last only a few milliseconds before the fireball starts to cool and expand. So, for at least a few milliseconds, there would essentially be a second sun in our solar system, right above New York City. As it expands and cools down, it forms the infamous mushroom cloud. The fireball alone would have a radius of about 3.2 miles. The moderate blast radius where most buildings collapse would be 16 miles. And thermal radiation causing third-degree burns could reach as far as 37 miles. So in any direction from ground zero up to 37 miles out, there would be massive firestorms. Fires could reach halfway through Long Island. Immediate fatalities could reach 7 million people, with another 6 million injured. Over the past 20 years, Russia has heavily invested in modernizing its nuclear arsenal. In 2024, Russia's total military budget is estimated at $145 billion. But numbers that big are hard to grasp. Just saying the words 145 billion almost means nothing. It's just a number. So, let's see how much money that is in the real world. Imagine a pallet stacked with $100 million in $100 bills. To represent $145 billion, you'd need 1,457 pallets, each loaded with $100 million. Russia spends up to 16% of its military budget on nuclear deterrence. That's about $23 billion, or 234 pallets out of the 1,457, with the last one holding $10 million. Now let's compare that to the US military budget for 2024, which is estimated at $846 billion. That would be a staggering 8,460 pallets, each containing $100 million in $100 bills. The US allocates about 6% of its military budget to nuclear deterrence, amounting to $53 billion, or about 532 pallets, with the last one holding $60 million. This is the cost of nuclear deterrence, and that's just between Russia and the United States. As Carl Sagan once said, the nuclear arms race is like two sworn enemies standing waist-deep in gasoline, one with 3 matches, the other with 5. That sentiment feels more accurate today than ever. In 2023, Vladimir Putin announced the suspension of Russia's participation in the New START Treaty, the last remaining nuclear arms control agreement between the United States and Russia. He accused the United States of seeking a strategic defeat to Russia. Then on November 21, 2024, Putin declared that Russia had launched a new medium-range ballistic missile called Oreshnik, armed with a non-nuclear hypersonic warhead aimed at Ukraine's Dnipro region. The launch was framed as a retaliatory measure against Ukraine's use of US-supplied ATACMS and British Storm Shadow missiles to strike targets inside Russia. But the unprecedented decision to use an intermediate-range ballistic missile feels like a step onto a path with no return. One miscalculation, and the world could spiral into nuclear chaos. Once the missiles are launched, there's no turning them back. Both the United States and Russia have defenses against ICBMs, but they're designed to handle limited attacks. In an all-out nuclear war, those defenses would be overwhelmed, and human civilization would fall. If we are the only intelligent beings in the Milky Way, the decision to turn off the lights of consciousness in the entire galaxy would rest in the hands of a select few. Perhaps it's time to rethink the paths we're treading before it's too late.